Okay, so today we're gonna talk about the firing order for a Foxbody Mustang. This is in response to a comment I had to a previous video I made that I mentioned that the 302 HO, the high output engine, has a different firing order than the standard output 302. I did highlight the firing order here. It is kind of faded at the end, but I just want to kind of highlight why it has a different firing order. So let me open this up quick. So kind of I guess some of the reasons why the 302 HO high output has a different firing order than just your regular 302 that you would find, say, in the older small block Ford, like in a 66 Mustang, such as this with 289. I think 67, 68 came out with a 302. It does have a different firing order. In 1982, which this car is the first year that the 302 high output came out. And pretty much what they did is they just got a camshaft from a 351 Windsor, and they put it into this engine, the 302. The 351 Windsor and the 302 is pretty much the same depth going back, although the 351 Windsor is wider. So if you've ever bought intake gaskets for intake manifold for 302, you usually get two. The gaskets on the side are the same, but you get two sets going this way. One's shorter and one's wider. So the shorter one is you use for the 302. The wider ones you use it for the 351 Windsor. And that's pretty much it. I mean, they put the camshaft from a 351, which had a little bit of a higher lift, which gave this car a little bit more performance. However, what that created was you got the firing order from a 351 Windsor as opposed to the old 302 firing order. And the way I found this out was back in the late 1990s. When I had this car, I was either in high school or right out of high school. I was about 18 years old. I think it was about 1999, 1998. And this car originally, even though it's a high output, it came with a 2-barrel carburetor. It did have an aluminum intake, but it had a 2-barrel carburetor. And I was able to get this intake. I don't know if you can see that. It's a Holly Street Dominator aluminum intake, single plane. And I was it when I got this intake. I wanted to put it on, so I got a carburetor from my brother and pulled the distributor out, installed the intake and the carburetor, and then I called AutoZone at the time, asked them for the firing order, and they gave it to me. I wrote it down, set the timing, and the car started, but it was just popping fire out the carburetor. Every time I would try to accelerate, it was just running really bad. And I couldn't figure it out. And I kept checking my wires, make sure they weren't crossed. I called AutoZone again, verified. And this is back in the 1990s. So you couldn't just Google something. You know, we had, I think the internet was around, but not everybody had computers at home. And so you would rely either on calling AutoZone for the firing order or checking the manual for your vehicle. And so I kept messing with it. Firing order was correct, but it ran like crap, and it kept running like it had a misfire. And I even took the distributor out. I did the 180. I thought maybe when I had taken out the spark plug on the number one, and then I turned it to the cylinder was all the way up, and or the piston was all the way up in the cylinder. And then I started setting my timing. So I thought maybe I had it on the I guess is it the intake stroke rather than the exhaust stroke, or vice versa. So I pulled the distributor out, did the 180, and it still gave me the same thing. So I was like, something's wrong with it. It took me weeks. I kept trying to mess with this engine. I thought maybe the carburetor was messed up. Took the carburetor apart and time trying to figure it out. So you can see it's kind of like stuff on here. I broke some stuff trying to fix it. Turns out, one day I was in the driveway just trying to figure it out. I turned the car on, I was revving it, and it kept popping. And at the time, they were working on the street. There was a construction crew out in the street. And one of the guys came over, and he said he heard my car sound like it had a misfire. So I told him I had changed out the intake. Oh, and let me add to the story too. So I thought maybe, carburetor's messed up. Let me just go ahead and put the original intake back on. So I took this intake off, and I had put the original one back on that I had on there before with the original carburetor, and gave me the same results, And before that, the car was running fine. So I said, okay, it must be something I did with the firing order. So, fast forward here, I'm trying to mess with this car in the driveway. Construction guy comes over, and then I let him know I had changed out the intake. Still giving me problems, and I checked all the wires and so forth. So he's the one that told me that this is a high output and that I should use a 351 Windsor firing order rather than the standard 302, because he told me he actually had, I think it was a Gran Torino that had the 351 Windsor. So he actually gave me the firing order, which is this one here, but it's missing I think the last number. I think it's an 8. I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and then he left. So I tried it to see what it did, and as soon as I did it, it ran perfect. And that's when I figured it out. So that's one of the reasons why I wrote that firing order on my hood here, so I wouldn't forget it anymore. And that's how I kind of found out about the 351 Windsor firing order with these Foxbodies. So I think the standard output 302s, the firing order for those, it's going to be 1, 5, 4, 2, 6, 3, 7, 8. And then 1982 and after, for the 5.0 high output, it's 1, 3, 7, 2, 6, 5, 4, 8. So just kind of let you know, I'm seeing a lot of these Foxbodies for sale on Marketplace. A lot of them don't have engines, So if you buy a Foxbody and you end up finding a 302 on Facebook Marketplace or something, you put it into the Foxbody is fine, just in case you ever do mess with a firing order or the intake or something like that. Just make sure if it's a high output, it'll be one firing order, or if it's just a standard output, it'll be a different one. So standard outputs, you'll be looking at, so late 60s 302s, or even 70s and 80s. If you had like Crown Victorias or Ford Fairmounts, or even a lot of the trucks from the 80s even through 90s, they mostly just had the regular 302, not the high output. So they use a different firing order. And that's pretty much it. My little rant talking about the differences in the firing order and these Foxbodies, and just kind of share my story. Thank you.